Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lock Shop. It is Friday, and we are at Boston Pizza in Winnipeg, and it's week one of the National Football League season. And we figured if we were going to be in the same area for week one, we might as well bang out our best bets here today, right?
Let's get together for a little week one NFL conversation after. By the way, I think we need a pound live in person after last night. Both on the spread for the Bills, both on the under. And both hit a prop, too. Well, you had a Josh Allen rushing TD. I had Gabe Davis, which, by the way, what a great omen for the start of the season when your one touchdown prop gets in the end zone in like 6 minutes into the game. I got to feel it. I've been seeing the board well. I've been feeling good in the Canadian Football League, but I got to tell you, I am so fired up. Great to have you here in Winnipeg. And listen, I can't wait for Sunday, but even before that, I can't wait to see the Bombers and Riders go at it in the Banjo Bowl. You will have the call. I will be losing my voice in the stands. This is setting up for, if you take out long weekends, this might be a top 2 weekend of the entire year, if you ask me.
Yeah, if you eliminate long weekends, this one is certainly right up there, especially here in Winnipeg with the Banjo Bowl and then the beginning of the National Football League season. And I was that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV when Gabe Davis got that touchdown early. I was just like, there it is. Huss nailed it. So that was big news. Yeah, CFL game's going to be absolutely terrific. And then so right now it's Friday late afternoon. We're banging out this episode, which will always be our. With the 5/6 episodes a week now, we're going to be banging out during the NFL season. Fridays will always be our best bets. And then we're going to have another one that'll be up tomorrow morning, which will be some player props, a little parlay that we're going to put together. It's a nice little mix here, actually, right? We can stay focused on our bets now and then give you some other fun stuff tomorrow.
Yeah, and of course, Tuesdays is part of the new schedule, fantasy football extravaganza.
Monday Night Football, just Mondays?
Yeah, I mean... which owners are more on suicide watch right now? Allen Robinson owners or Cam Akers owners from last night?
Cam Akers owners. And it was funny because I have pretty much no shares of Cam Akers, but I'm watching Henderson. And when he came out for the first drive, I thought, okay, but they said there was going to be like a 1A, 1B. Like, that's fine. But then when he didn't come out on the second drive, and it's an 82% snap share for Darrell Henderson Jr., Cam Akers owners a little bit worried, but we'll get to that on Tuesday. So, yeah, Monday Night Football preview, quick recap of Sunday, obviously. We'll have one of the guys from Coolbet hop on with us there. Tuesday will be fantasy football extravaganza episode. We'll mix in that CFL episode still as we work our way towards the week. And then Thursday Night Football, Friday best bets picks, Saturday player props, and parlay and stuff. And so, yeah, that's a jam-packed skit.
Well, for sure, and I'm here for it. And listen, it's a great time to remind you all, give a big shout out to our great sponsors at Coolbet Canada. And this is the time. If you have not played at Coolbet before and are thinking about it, and we know NFL Week 1 is here, take advantage of using the Lock Shop promo code, one word, Lock Shop. When you make your first deposit, they will double it, 100% bonus up to $200. No better time to do it than heading into week 1 of the NFL season.
And usually on Fridays, Pat Gregoire from Coolbet will pop in and join us, but we're on location today, so he'll catch up with us next week. All right, Huss, so how we're going to work it throughout the NFL season, we're each going to pick 4 games per week. I guess sometimes we'll overlap. I don't think we're overlapping on any games today. So that's 8 picks coming at you from the Lock Shop this week. And I'll just say this before we dive into the picks. And I'm feeling a little bit nervous because I'm on a lot of road favorites this week. And, you know, home opener for all these teams, the dogs, there's going to be a surprise or two. But some of these games are just too good that I can't get away from the 6.5 and 7-point favorites on the road. So how was it just looking at the board this week?
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I think for week 1, in typical NFL fashion, we've got some incredible matchups, some juicy revenge games. The Monday nighter is Russell Wilson's return to Seattle. We're going to get to Baker Mayfield going up against his old team, the Browns. So it's great, but I'll tell you what, I mean, there's only a couple. The biggest favorites on the board are Indy on the road in Houston and Baltimore on the road at the Jets. Outside of that, I mean, is anyone feeling completely confident about a suicide pool pick this week? I mean,
yeah, probably not.
I got to tell you, I mean, when the big favorites are road favorites, and it's week one, which has always been a graveyard and very unpredictable. To me, this is as challenging a week one as we've had in a long, long time. And to be perfectly honest, I know I said this earlier this week. I said, we're just going to tread lightly. Although with the way things started on Thursday, that might not be the case. I just know that there's been a lot of digging out of holes after week one. So maybe take a chill pill before you hammer the whole stack on it this weekend. We'll see what happens over the next couple weeks, and then hopefully really hit a groove as we get into the regular season.
All right, so we got the 8 games coming your way. We're going to go back and forth on them. Huss, we're in your home barn here at Boston Pizza in Winnipeg. So you take, what's game one for? Now, we're not necessarily ranking these on which ones we like the most, but we're just going to go back and forth on our 4 picks each year. So.
Yeah, and originally we were going to basically panel this after last year when we did the Circa contest, and we came up with 5 picks a week. And it's a good number, but the fact that we're picking the Thursday nighters separately and the Monday nighters separately, we figured we'd get our favorite 4 picks against the spread. And I had 5. I figured I would take the Chiefs out. I was mentioning to you before we started this, it would maybe be a bit of an emotional hedge. Listen, I do like to win the game, but if they didn't cover the number and I took an L on the lock shop, I wouldn't be pleased. So I'm going to leave the Chiefs out. And let's start it off with a game that has a huge, huge interest, especially here in southern Manitoba. A ton of Minnesota Viking fans, tons of season ticket holders around here in the southern Manitoba area, and I got a bunch of friends heading out to the game, and what a way to start it off with the arch rival Vikings and Packers going at it at US Bank Stadium. Listen, I'm bullish on the Vikings overall. I think they're well. And listen, I took Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp, so let's hope that Justin Jefferson has a big game, because my God, was Kupp incredible on the Thursday nighter.
There's no way Stafford's going to keep doing that to Kupp again and again. I mean, he's got Allen Robinson there. Only looked at him twice last night.
Listen, if he spends the entire game on his ass, I don't like the prospects for anybody, even Cooper Kupp. That being said, the Bills' defense, to me, was the story of the game. We knew the Bills were legit when it comes to the offensive side of the football, but man, that addition of Von Miller, that was scary, scary stuff. But I love this matchup, Vikings-Packers, and we had a great conversation with Matt Collar in the Twin Cities on Winnipeg Sports Talk earlier this week about Viking training camp, where they're at, the new atmosphere around the team with Zim being gone and Kevin O'Connell coming in as the head coach. And I got to tell you, I think if there was a time for the Vikings to play the Packers at home, where it's always a tight and tough game, week one this season, I think, is a perfect time for it. Listen, Alan Lazard's questionable right now. Davante Adams isn't there. If there ever was a time where it might take a little while for Aaron Rodgers to gel with his receivers, listen, earlier on in the season makes a lot of sense for that to happen. Listen, I think there'll be a lot of Aaron Jones and a lot of A.J. Dillon right now. I'm just not too sure, as great as Aaron Rodgers is, how consistent he'll be able to hook up with a number of young receivers that, frankly, are going to be getting their first taste of live NFL action right now. These games are always tight, but the fact of the matter is the Vikings are 1.5-point home underdogs right now. I believe the money line is even money on the Vikings to win. And I think the Kevin O'Connell era in Minnesota starts on a real positive note with a W. And this game is so important. I mean, anytime you have division rivals going head-to-head in week number one, especially when it's the 2 favorites to win the division, this is a game that will have major implications for the rest of the year. Now, I don't want to doubt Matt LaFleur. All he's done is win, and win consistently since he's come in. But it's not easy to win on the road against your arch rival. I know the Skull Nation is going to be ready for this football game. I think Kirk Cousins has something to prove, and I think he's got the weapons to prove it. Give me the Vikings plus 1.5. I like him to win the football game outright. I'll probably have a sprinkle on the money line. But for our spread picks, plus 1.5, Minnesota, pick number 1 for me.
I like it. I almost stumbled up on that one. It's such a huge game early in the season, right? I was just before you chimed in there on how big a game it was. I was thinking, from a divisional perspective, this is probably the biggest game of the week, I would think, with what's on the line with these two clubs going head-to-head. So he's on Minnesota plus the points at home. I'm going to start with Lamar Jackson, who didn't get a contract done today. It was the deadline. And you know what he's going to do this year? He is going to go out and make bank, bro. And he's when you bet on yourself, and the first game where you bet on yourself is against the New York Jets, and you're Lamar Jackson, you probably win this game by 20. The line right now is 7.5 over at Coolbet. I don't know if it opened at 6.5 or at 7. I don't know if it opened at 6.5 or not. But the New York Jets, what are the New York Jets? We know that the New York Jets are any different than the last New York Jets teams we've seen. We know that the Baltimore Ravens, I think, probably are Cincinnati's biggest rival to win that division. I think the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, if he can connect with Rashad Bateman, I think that's going to make a major difference for them this year because that guy's an absolute monster. One thing that really stands out, I was looking at this afternoon on my way to Winnipeg, and the New York Jets last year gave up the most yards against 2 tight end sets. And the Baltimore Ravens have had rookie tight end Isaiah Likely emerge, and when they've been at their best in the past is when they had Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews, and Lamar Jackson just goes to town when you got a 2 tight end set. And that looks like that's what they're going to be running against the Jets. So that's one of the big reasons on top of everything else with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens and their expectations against the Jets team. The Jets are going to have to prove to me that they're anything different than they were last year. And, I get it. They've made some additions. And I am not here for Joe Flacco revenge season.
I was just about
There's
to say.
no way.
You're ignoring the Joe Flacco revenge game narrative going into week 1? He's elite, right?
There is no Joe Flacco revenge game. If Joe Flacco goes out and beats the Ravens, I've been sitting on my radio show since he threw that deep ball against the Broncos that was played horribly, and they ended up going on to win the whole bloody thing. I've said here he's a fluke. All he does is throw the ball deep. That's it. Joe Flacco can't do anything else. So I like the Ravens.
I won't stand here for this Joe Flacco slander. Never forget that when he won the Super Bowl in the playoffs, 11 touchdowns, no picks. If that's not elite, I don't know what it is. That being said, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
I'm not down with it. Although I do think the Jets will be better than a lot of people think. This is a very tough start, though, even at home without Zach Wilson. And who knows? Maybe if things go well for the Jets, Streveler will get in. Of course, I believe he'll be the 3rd quarterback. And if there is an injury, then could potentially play. Although that being said, live bullets against a team like the Ravens, I'm not sure the same heroics we'd get in the 4th quarter that he did every preseason game for the Jets so far this year. We love Strev here in the Peg.
Everybody loves Strev across Canada if you've been a Canadian Football League fan. So Ravens -7. Would love it at 6.5. Probably might adjust it myself, but for the purpose of our picks, Ravens -7. That's my first pick of the week.
All right, going to number 2. Here's a quarterback that is not as universally loved as Chris Streveler. In fact, he's one of the more polarizing figures in the National Football League, and that is Baker Mayfield, who's going to be starting his first game for the Carolina Panthers.
I don't know if anybody I've talked to is more in on Baker Mayfield than you're in on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I'm in on Baker this year. I think that, I think the Carolina Panthers actually do have a lot of talent on their team. And Christian McCaffrey will be the guy that, if he is there, he adds such a crazy dimension to that offense when it comes to screen passes, the ability to drop off, his route running availability. I mean, just look at his numbers, targets and catches over the course of his career when he's been in the lineup. He is as much of a dual threat running and catching the football as anyone, and that's probably why he went at the top of your fantasy draft when you're doing your pools over the last couple of weeks. I don't feel great about this, but again, this speaks to just how difficult I think week 1 is picking it. I'm high on the Panthers to be a playoff team. I think Baker Mayfield shows that the Browns maybe made a bit of a mistake. Well, I think we all already know that they made a mistake investing what they did in Deshaun Watson, considering what this organization's been going through, and the fact that Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starting quarterback. And I do think it'll take a little while for him to fit in and the Browns to hit their stride. But I'll say this, the Browns have a hell of a defense. They've got a good offensive line, and I think we'll see a lot of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But for Carolina to come through, this is a huge season for Matt Rule. I know he got the 7-year deal, but the first 2 years has been very, very disappointing. He's, I think, someone on the hot seat to get this turned around. And Baker Mayfield always had a chip on his shoulder. This thing is going to be the size of a boulder going into Sunday. And to get a chance to do it against his old team with a second-string quarterback in, I think this is a perfect opportunity for the Mayfield era in Carolina to start off with a win. It's a 1.5-point number right now. So, listen, if you want to be safer, you can pick it on the money line. I'm going to lay the 1.5 with the Panthers to go 1-0 in a Baker Mayfield. This is the revenge game narrative of the week. We can talk about Russell Wilson going against it. There's revenge on the mind of the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. I'm taking Baker and the Cats.
This is the one. And you know, as anti-Joe Flacco revenge season game I am, I'm totally on board with Baker Mayfield having it against the Cleveland Browns. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. For my second pick, I'm going to fade what I think is going to be the worst team in the National Football League this year, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. They're at home. They're 5.5-point underdogs against Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints. The Saints last year, prior to Jameis getting hurt, were 5-2. And Jameis was having a pretty good year last year, and they've added weapons, right? They draft Chris Olave. They bring in Jarvis Landry. They're hoping to have Michael Thomas back. Alvin Kamara is not going to be suspended. This is probably the best set of weapons that Jameis Winston maybe has ever had.
Their defense is legit,
well,
too.
And that's what I was going to say. The reason I really like this number at 5.5 is because I don't think the Falcons score more than 10 points in this football game. Nothing against Marcus Mariota and whoever he has involved in that offensive game. The bottom line is they don't have many pieces there right now to go up against the Saints defense that when it's all said and done this year could probably be a top 5 defense in the National Football League. So you've got arguably the worst team in football going up against one of the best defenses in football, and some fresh blood there for the Saints and that coaching staff as well. So we'll see how much of a difference that makes. But I really like this game. I'm going to go with Jameis Winston, who looks like he just keeps getting slimmer and slimmer. You see this guy? You see him talking about the body the other day? Did you see? Did you see that clip?
Going to be eating a W on Sunday?
I think he is. He was describing how the body's symmetrical and, you got your knees, and what else are your knees? Your elbows. You got your ankles, and what else are your ankles? So he's
Jameis
a little crazy.
No idea what he's saying when it's coming out of his mouth. And I'm here for it at all. He's as entertaining an interview and a personality as there is in the National Football League. Yeah. And listen, I think a good season for Jameis, a good season for the Saints is great for the NFL. That is a fun fan base, and it's a team in that division. Well, we're going to find out about Tampa and where they're at going up against the Dallas Cowboys in the Sunday Nighter. I don't think I'm with you. I think Atlanta will be in the mix for the first overall pick at the end of it. We'll see if Carolina can be a much more competitive team. I personally think they will be, but the jury is out on that. And then you've got Tampa and New Orleans in what could be a pretty competitive NFC South.
All right, so there you go. That's my second pick. I am going to lock in the Saints on the road, -5.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. And to be honest with you, I feel like that number should even be a little bit more. So I like it at 5.5. Where are you going next, Huss?
All right, let's go down to Miami. Patriots, Dolphins, AFC East head-to-head matchup to kick things off. And for my money, the quarterback that is under the most pressure in the entire league going into this season in Week 1 is Tua Tagovailoa with the Miami Dolphins. They drafted Jalen Waddle last year. They paid the price to the Kansas City Chiefs to get Tyreek Hill and gave him his money. They've acquired Chase Edmonds to go along with Raheem Mostert. The offensive pieces are there, and now it's time for Tua to show that he can be not just an adequate NFL quarterback, but a guy that can take Miami to the playoffs and challenge in the AFC East. Consider me skeptical right now on that. Now, do I think that they'll be a terrible team? No, not at all. And I'm a big fan of Mike McDaniel. I mean, I love his interviews. I love the way he looks at the National Football League. But if you're telling me that I'm going to get Bill Belichick and the Patriots and get 3.5 points in a divisional game in Week 1 against a guy making his first start in the National Football League, I don't care the fact that the Dolphins are 3-7 against Miami without Tom Brady in the Bill Belichick era. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win this football game, but I damn sure think that Bill Belichick and Patricia will be able to keep this game close and will have an answer for what Miami's doing offensively. So give me the underdog Patriots and the points, plus 3.5 in their opening game against Miami. I don't think I'd be putting anything on the Patriots on the money line. As I say, I think this game will go either way. But if you get the hook on top of 3 points, I think this is an auto pick. Bill Belichick, Patriots on the road, plus 3.5 in the division against the Dolphins.
All right, once again, it is Nielsen and Hustler with you. It is Cool Bet sponsored Lock Shop right here in Winnipeg at Boston Pizza. Thank you to the fine folks at Boston Pizza for hooking us up. We got 5 of our 8 picks already in the book, and I guess I'm gonna follow the same strategy that I just had. I'm not as confident in this one as I was in the last one, but I also believe the Chicago Bears are going to be one of the worst teams in the National Football League. And you really like the Niners, do you not?
Like I love the Niners. Yeah. Niners are my NFC pick. And I tell you what, I feel even better about that after seeing what the Rams were last night. I mean,
that's true.
Listen, I know the prop season is, our future season is somewhat over now. There's a game's been played, but if you have the opportunity, I'm not sure whether it's up right now, to get on the Niners from that NFC West. I really do think, I'm not big on the Cardinals this year. The Seahawks are going to be terrible. To me, this is going to be a 2-horse race. And the horse looks like it might need to be sent to the glue factory in Los Angeles, although huge overreaction. I know it's one game. They played a great team. But I think with Jimmy Garoppolo staying in San Francisco, they've got 2 options. So if Trey Lance is not ready to be that guy, they've got another guy. I think San Francisco looks great. And in Chicago, Justin Fields is going to be having an uphill climb right now because they just simply don't have the talent, I think, to compete in the NFC North, never mind the rest of the league.
Just quickly on that division, because you asked about it, it is up right now. I can still get it at Cool Bet, and it is the 49ers plus 140 now at the top of that list.
Yeah, I think that went down a little bit after last night's game.
Just a little bit of a dip after last night's game for the Rams, who were at the top. So, yeah, I am going to hop on San Francisco here. Once again, it's another bigger-ish number on the road against the Chicago Bears. But what are the Chicago Bears going to be this year? And Justin Fields, God love him, but he's one of these guys who's been put in a really tough situation. I mean, not as bad as what it was in Jacksonville last year for Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence has had that opportunity now to kind of get out of it. You're Justin Fields rolling in here with a ton of pressure to be the guy once again for the Chicago Bears. You've got Darnell Mooney on one side. You've got a tight end in Cole Kmet, and that's pretty much about it. You're going up against the Niners defense that should be one of the – this is very similar to that last pick with the Saints. I love the Saints defense against not a very good team. I love the Niners defense against the Chicago Bears offense, against the offense, even on the road. And I'm very intrigued to see this Trey Lance-led offense. Now, part of me was a little bit hesitant because in my mind, I'm like, oh, what if Trey Lance struggles early? What do you think they do in game 1? Like, what if Trey Lance has a quarter and a half that's just brutal? You go to Jimmy already, or you say, we got to give this kid some time? Because either way, I feel okay about it, especially with the other pieces that they have with Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and a run game that they like to commit to. But, how long is that leash?
If that happens, to me, it comes down to one thing. How well the 49er defense is taking care of Chicago right now.
True.
Listen, if we're talking about a 3-0 game into the late first quarter or second quarter and neither offenses are doing anything, maybe they stay with them. But they have to win this football game. I mean, if they want to be every one of these games, you can't give anything away in that division or in an NFC that really is very wide open going in. So the fact of the matter is, I think Trey Lance in some ways has sort of been put on notice that, this isn't going to be a year that we're just going to sort of let you go out there and make mistakes and see what happens. They've got their eyes on a Super Bowl championship. He'll get the first opportunity to be that guy, but if it's not going well, Jimmy G's ready to get back in there and maybe make up for some of the things that didn't go well last season and, of course, in that Super Bowl second half against the Chiefs.
Either way, they should take care of business against the Chicago Bears this week. All right, we've each got one pick left. We've already banged out 6 for you. And a little surprised. I mean, a lot of the times we'll find games that we really like and we'll hop on it together, and it usually works pretty well, just like it did on Thursday night. But 4 different games this week. Where's your last one?
Well, listen, I mean, we might not be on the same game, but I think you're going to like this pick. Who's ready to bite some kneecaps, people? Who's ready to bite some kneecaps?
I'll bite some
Dan
kneecaps
Campbell,
for a win.
MCDC, we ready to do this? Oh, hell yes, we are. The darlings of Hard Knocks, the hard luck Detroit Lions, Dusty's team, hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Is there a team right now? I mean, listen, the Bills are the Super Bowl favorites. I get that, and they had an amazing game last night. But is there a team that was somewhat more off the radar, not a real contender last year, that more people seem to be hornier about right now than the Philadelphia Eagles? Listen, I thought Sirianni had a good year. I mean, I think he's an impressive coach. I think that Jalen Hurts could be good NFL quarterback. I mean, I know we get some big fantasy yards, but I think that is sort of maybe skewing people's thoughts of the Eagles.
Did get A.J. Brown.
Absolutely. Got A.J. Brown. They've certainly got another field. I hate their backfield as far as they're running the football. And for a running team to be relying on a guy like Miles Sanders, who's been in and out, and Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott, I think a lot of this is on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts. And if you know one thing from watching Hard Knocks, the Detroit Lions are a team that believes in their head coach, believes in where they're going, and they will be damned. They don't give a shit of what anyone else is saying about them. They are out there on a mission to prove people.
It's about time that's how we describe this team. I love it.
You know, it's for sure. And listen, do I think that this is going to be a playoff team? No, I don't. But I think they'll be competitive. I think that if you want to go in Detroit and beat them, you're going to play a full 60 minutes. And, you know, as much as everyone's raving about the 1 to 53 depth of the Eagles roster, you can only have 11 guys on the field at a time. And I think the Detroit Lions are ready to play in a real close game. We're getting 4.5. This game opened at around 3, and there's just been so much steam going in Philly. And I'll tell you what, I guess I need to be convinced if Philadelphia is going to be this juggernaut in the NFC. And I'll tell you what, this is not going to be an easy place for anyone to come in and just walk away with wins. I love home underdogs, especially in situations like this week 1 where there's a lot we need to learn. I'm taking the points, 4.5. Give me the Lions at home to keep this one close with the Eagles, or dare I say, maybe pull off the upset and start 1-0 at home.
Too good to be true, my man. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'll just take covers. I don't even care if they win. It's sitting there going, hey, at least they covered this week. It's a step in the right direction.
Good teams win, great teams cover.
If they could win week 1 at home against the Eagles, that would be absolutely glorious. So I love the pick. I hope it pans out. That would be terrific. Mostly for the lock shop, but especially for the Detroit Lions. Okay, my final game. I've gone with the 3 favorites on the road so far, and this one I'm a little bit nervous about. But I loved what I saw late last year, obviously, from the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to take the Bengals at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And look, at least in the past with the Steelers, you knew what you were getting. You were getting Ben Roethlisberger throwing 4-yard passes and them slowly moving the offense down the field. I don't know what's going to happen with Mitch Trubisky. He's been named a captain and everything. It's still Mitch Trubisky. And I am coming off a decent experience he had last year before getting another job. But the Cincinnati Bengals are just loaded. I mean, if you give Joe Burrow any amount of time, he will kill you. He will absolutely pick you apart. If you're looking at guys who are the best 1-2 punch receiver, I know there's some good ones out there, but I'm tough to find anybody better than Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Bengals are at home. There's going to be a ton of hype there, obviously, around that game. And I understand divisional game, and in the past, the Steelers have grinded these types of games. Won a lot of them, definitely covered a lot of them. But I just think this is a little bit of a different Pittsburgh Steelers team, so I want to see a little bit more before we dive into the Steelers buying into this a little bit. So I'm going to ride with Joe Burrow, man.
The Steelers are fascinating to me. I mean, if you look at where they've been with Ben all these years and Mike Tomlin, I mean, you would think that this is the year that they maybe take a step back, but
they always find a way, right? Which is why I'm a little nervous about it.
They always find a way. I'm really looking forward to seeing what their defense does. I mean, now they've got Brian Flores. I mean, if you thought that was an angry team beforehand, I mean, just wait till you get him in the defensive room. But this is interesting, and
it shows
6.5. It shows it's 6.5 right now, and I think on paper you could make an argument that number maybe should even be higher. But then you remember, this is the Bengals, this is the Steelers, this is the AFC North, and that was I did think about this game, and it's funny because this is week number 1. Everything is somewhat unknown. We'll watch a lot of football. We'll learn a lot about where these teams are right now. But very different philosophies and strategies for the two of us in week number 1.
I know.
As far as me taking some home underdogs and taking some previous teams that weren't too good and taking points, and you taking the teams that we know are pretty good, but having to cover significant numbers sometimes on the road as well. Heck of a great way to kind of attack this week in the card in a couple different ways.
Lesson learned one way or the other, I guess, right?
No doubt about it.
Or we just go 8-0 and it's an absolutely phenomenal start, which my playoffs last year. Remember that playoff run? It was 11-1. That was unreal last year during the playoffs. So see if we can pick that up. But there you go. That's 4 games each. Neither of us hit on it. And I mean, maybe we can get a little discussion on Saturday. Saturday's going to be for a little parlay that we're going to put together. Kind of be able to find it in that exclusive section over at Cool Bet. So it'll be the Lock Shop Partner Parlay, 3-game parlay, a money line parlay. So hopefully you can turn a few winners around there for you as well. Get you some player props on Saturday as well. But neither of us got into the Tampa-Dallas Sunday nighter. Do you have a lean either way on that? No official pick here, but why'd you stay away from it, I guess? Maybe?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm really interested to see what the Bucs look like. I mean, listen, I know it's Tom Brady, but we've all heard all these stories, and I was sort of feeling bad because I just talked about him being on The Masked Singer for 2 weeks, and now we're hearing that, there may be some legitimate problems at home with Giselle, and even though he's my nemesis, I certainly would never like to make fun of any real issues at home. And the fact that he missed almost 2 weeks of training camp as well, and they got a new head coach. So we'll see how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look, but just talent-wise and the fact that they've got Brady, they'll be there. And listen, I'm not as high on the Dallas Cowboys that a lot of other people are. I mean,
they're still the Dallas Cowboys.
Tampa Bay might have a new coach. The Cowboys still have Mike McCarthy as their coach. And, you add in Dak Prescott, who apparently has been limited in practice this week.
His
I mean, that's not a great way to start the season. And, they're missing Michael Gallup. Listen, I think I originally took Dallas as a slight home dog in just our weekly winners pool where you have to pick each and every game. When I was looking at the slate of games this week, even though I love to have action on the Sunday night, or it inevitably will, for our Lock Shop picks, there was 4 other games that I felt more comfortable than that one. And again, at just 2.5 points, we've seen a bunch of 1.5 and 2.5 point games. I mean, I don't think the bookies know very much on this one either. So Tampa gets the favorite because of the resume of Tom Brady. But to me, this is as close to a toss-up maybe as we have in the game. And we'll see if Dak Prescott is close to 100%, if he can hang with the GOAT.
I love it. I'm guilty of it as well. We say, this guy's my nemesis. And you said Tom Brady's your nemesis. I wonder if Tom Brady's at home being like, oh, man, my nemesis Hustler's all over me again. I just like to imagine you and Tom Brady being nemesis against each other.
Listen, I would love that too. And as I say, hopefully his nemesis will end up being Mahomes in the Super Bowl. But we will see. We will see about that. Bottom line is, we'll learn a lot about these teams over the course of the next couple weeks. So we'll sort of ease into week 1 as opposed to maybe laying it all out. That being said, there's some great matchups all day long, finishing up with that Dallas and Tampa game. And then on Sunday, or I guess on Monday, we'll get ready for the Monday Nighter, which is the Russell Wilson homecoming game. And
great.
I can already tell you, I don't like laying big points on the road, but I think you might see me do exactly that on Monday's show. Stay tuned.
If you've been watching the Lock Shop today, make sure you subscribe to all of your podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, wherever the hell you get them. Just search the Lock Shop. You'll be able to find, subscribe. Like we said, we're going to be banging up 5-6 episodes per week during the National Football League season, obviously mixing in the Canadian Football League as well, and then eventually we're going to have some hockey mixed in there. So a very busy time for the Lock Shop. And once again, huge thank you to the folks here at Boston Pizza for hooking us up. And, of course, our presenting sponsors at CoolBet. If you're not yet signed up for an account at CoolBet, there's literally, we could say it all the time, but there's no better time than this weekend to sign up for an account. So just use the code LOCKSHOP. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're looking for something outside of the NFL to bet on, I'm feeling pretty good about the Bombers tomorrow afternoon in the Banjo Bowl, even though this guy right here seems to only call thrillers and the tightest of games. We had that last week. I think it's a different story. Looking forward to being at the game. And as I've